Hi, everybody. So this call is supposed to go over like using your tracker and stuff like that. That's not going to take us long at all. So we'll be able to cover a wide range of topics. So, if Christina, if you have any, I know you're here, but if you have any questions at all about anything, now's going to be the time to take advantage of me and get all the knowledge about any subject related to final expense, mortgage protection, life insurance, fully underwritten. We do simplified issue, all these terms. I can make it really easy and simple. I can make it really complex, but where you can digest it. So the first thing that I'm going to go over is coming up shortly. Just bear with me here. Okay. So I'm going to put this over here so I can share my screen. All right. So here we go. Here we go. I'll just do this. So when you guys have you want to make sure you have like a checklist, right? Number one, this has got to be like your Bible for insurance. Nothing can ever replace the one and only Bible, or maybe you have a Bible with whatever religion you are. This is going to be your TPG Bible, okay? And then you go down to that tracker and you want to print it out. You do not have to print it out, but I highly recommend that you do print it out. There's two different trackers that we use. You have the activity sheet, which is a tracker, right? Which is going to feed into this tracker. Because when you start out, all you really need is a phone, ideally a little bit of internet, right? Maybe a little tablet or computer. Yeah, you definitely got to have a tablet or a computer, right? I know that's a given. Let me just check my audio. And by the way, how is my audio? Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I can.
perfect. Okay, just want to make sure. All right. So I like having this little strip here. Okay. So this is pretty cool. You get this for free. I wish I'd have had this when I first started. And you get to go in here and use the first tracker. You can actually, well, you can't edit this one, but you can file, make a copy. Let's just go ahead and do it. And then when you make that copy, you can edit it because it's now your copy. So maybe you go through your day and you're just doing this, or you're doing you're doing this. I don't know. I think the easiest way to do it is probably going to be able to do like for me in my opinion, is put like a big O, and then you can count them up if you want to. Whatever's easiest for you. And then when you get in here, you'll be able to count up, like maybe you'll get to know like how many rows you have. And so once you fill up these rows, this is how many dials you made. And then you can go in here and be like, I contacted 15 people. I did I oh, this is you're going for 5 to 7 presentations, right? When you get your 5 to 7, you should be able to close 1 to 2 to 3 of them. Okay. You attempted by giving them a quote, maybe let's say 4 people, make one sale. You got 1,500 AP. You got one referral, and you want to try to go through and figure out how much talk time you had on your phone. You had 3 hours and 57 minutes. Okay, that's that. And then you could come over here to this and you could actually say, well, today I had 15 people pick up. Oh, that's a view only. but you can start to fill this out, right? Everything here, this is beautiful. You know, when you go to put in like a client, make a copy. It's so cool, man, when somebody calls you to be able to go in and say, "Hey, this is Sarah and she got a policy back in May and she wanted her daughter to be her beneficiary." And she might call you up and say, "Hey, who's my beneficiary?" And you may not know if you don't have everything tracked here, you know? You'll be able to actually, determine how much money you're making, how much money you're spending, how many apps you've written. If somebody falls off, did you call them back and try to get them back on the books? So that's it. That's all. This is all we really need to do. You have to, we're not going to sit here and go into to all this all day long, right? Because the first thing you need to do is get somebody on the phone after you've bought leads. If you don't have money to buy leads, ask somebody to borrow money. Go get a loan, use a credit card. Um, if there's no risk, the more risk there is of failure, the more glory there is in success. Okay. So take a risk, buy some leads, bet on yourself, and then, put a lot of activity in with those leads. All right. Now at this time, I'm going to open it up for questions.
I have a couple
Yeah.
um, on the activity sheet that you first showed. Now, when it says 15 contacts, does that mean people you've actually spoke to, um, or just people that you've left a message for? Is it the contact like in geez, what is it? In the leads ready?
It
You know
would
what?
be it would be a person that you spoke to,
Okay.
and here's why. What it allows your leader to do is to say, "Hey, we got to work on your greeting because you're getting 25 contacts but zero presentations." Or
Mhm.
you've got 15 presentations with zero closes. It helps them isolate what are we going to work on? What are we going to fix, tweak? So those are whys.
Okay. And the 7/5, is that the presentations for the day?
So you want to get five is like the minimum you want to get per day. And I'll be honest with you, I need to get this cleared up because it's a misunderstanding. I don't know what the seven means, but to me, it means what I made it mean. I invented a definition for it, which I'm not recommending people do, but maybe someone can come off mute and tell me what it means. But seven is what I've always shot for in my career. Because I knew that even as a brand new agent with no skill, if you could do seven, you could get one deal closed. And that's
Okay.
on a bad day. That's on a bad day. On a good day, well, you'll just go look at some of the veterans numbers. They'll do one presentation, one sale, four presentations, two sales. I myself, if I take somebody over 8 minutes, there's a 50% chance I'm closing it. If I get them over 8 minutes, because if I'm keeping them on the phone more than 8 minutes, I'm going to dig in. I'm going to give it everything I've got.
Mm-hmm.
And half the time I'll get them to do it, but the key is the greeting and getting people into a presentation. And one thing that's been working for me lately is just to kind of to be able to very, you just got to deal with the person in front of you. Don't get too caught up on a script. Just have a conversation with somebody. If you can tell they're about to hang up on you, you might have to interrupt them. That's the only thing I would say that's a bit unusual when you can tell someone's about to hang up on you. Hey, come on, man, give me a minute. You see, that gets people's attention. They're like, whoa, people like jumped up and started looking at their screens when I did that. But that's what they do. They're about to hang up on you anyway. So I'm like, hold, wait a minute. You know, hey, listen, I know you get hammered with phone calls, don't you? I know you're about to hang up on me, but before you do, that's just my save. No, look, if they hang up on you, there's nothing you can do. Just move on. Like what you can do is just move on as quickly as possible. I'll tell you guys a quick story, okay? I had a girl in the office. She had gotten everything done, banking and social, but we used to have to do 30-minute phone interviews. I've been doing this long enough where we don't have to do this anymore. 30-minute phone interview with a third party to get the deal submitted. And she got into that. So she had been on the phone for over an hour. She had the banking, had the social, but she was basically doing the signature electronically through a
Mhm.
third party recording. If you don't finish that recording, you can't get the deal. And it was with American Amicable actually that they used to make us do. It would take 15 to 30 minutes to do the interview after you did everything. So she lost the deal in that interview. The guy got tired or hung up or something. She talked about that for the whole week. She just was so upset about it. She
Hmm.
talked about it all week long. Meanwhile, what she didn't know was that day I worked a 12-hour day. I was in the office from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I closed 4 or 5 sales that day, and I had been hung up on 3 times on the interview. So not only did I close 5 sales that day, but on top of that, it would have been my best day ever if I would have gotten those other 3. I had their banking, I had their social, I had their agreement on a price.
Mhm.
I was doing the interview and they hung up on the interview. And that happened 3 times in one day. The difference between me and her was that I moved on. That's it. So you're never going to get to those numbers if you don't track, like you need to be tracking. Tracking is like while you're sitting here. I have my file. I had my bag. They did the Wi-Fi yesterday, so I got a little folder over here with all the papers printed out that I'll just sit there with a pen and be marking everything and just marking my progress, and maybe listening to some light music in the background with no words, so that way it's not too distracting. Just some background noise and focus on I'm getting this person on the phone. They're going to answer. You know what? I think I'm going to shoot him a text. You don't really have to do that. Shedrick doesn't. He actually doesn't recommend doing that. He just recommends dialing. So here, let's get into some content here, okay? Anyone that's actually paying attention to this meeting and not just playing it in the background, give me any question you've got about anything related to sales, life insurance.
I got a question. When you're talking about like they hang up on you, do you call them back right away and see if there was you got disconnected, or do you come back to them later?
I come back to them later. That's the best way.
Okay.
I used to try to call them back and I've never really I've been doing this for look, one of these days you'll be able to say this too if you haven't already been able to say it. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've helped over 3,000 families. I've never had any luck with calling people back when they hung up on me, unless I just wasn't getting a lot of people on the phone and I was feeling like, wait, Mary, hey, wait, yes, what? And then you kind of
Mhm.
get into that conversation.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with trying that, but more than likely they're not going to remember you, and then you're going to call them back another day when it's a better time.
Okay.
I'd rather just kind of get that volume than focus on that one person that probably is just going to block my number.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, go ahead, Delaney.
What's your like go-to line for when you feel like you've gotten past all of the questions and kind of picking up on their situation to move into the application? Because I feel like there's one in the script, but I guess what's helping you?
Well, I want to make sure I understand the full question. So you've already presented numbers.
No, I guess maybe that, yeah, that would be a good start.
So how long have you been doing this so far?
Um, 3 months,
Cool. Okay. How many apps have you written?
only one.
Okay, no
But I
problem. So
also I know what my issues are, so
that
yeah.
that's good. So let's do this. Let's talk about this for a second. So we'll back up though. At some point in the call, what I've got is a piece of paper with like what I like to do. I'm gonna go ahead and just give you guys this. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna give you guys a gift today. A free gift. All right, here we go. All right. Just bear with me. I'm trying to download it so I can, it's a PDF. I'm gonna put it in the chat. This I think will help you guys because it's really simple. Here it comes. And then I'm gonna share my screen because this is an answer to your question, okay? Promise. So right here you've got your client tracker sheet. Like sorry, profile sheet. So I'm like, all right, Miss Jones, and by the way, how do I spell your last name? Like I probably have that, right? Okay, today's date. Okay, and if I don't have their birthday or email or whatever, I'm just like filling this in. Because maybe you like to write, you don't like to type, right? You're faster. Okay. So while I'm talking to them, I'm like, okay, so they're going to have me ask you some health questions. And so I go through that. Okay. And then I want to find out some information. So if you don't mind me asking, Delaney, like, in the last 30 days, obviously you thought that this might be something you needed to look into or take care of. What was the major thing that made you decide to do it now?
Um, I recently had a family member pass away and they didn't have any coverage. They had to set up a GoFundMe.
Oh, wow. Really sorry for your loss. Were you guys really close?
Uh, he was a family friend, so yeah, kinda.
Yeah. Must have been really tough on the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen to your family. All right.
Mhm.
So now I know you wanted the $50,000 plan, but would you agree to do one thing with me today?
Yeah.
If you won't do the $50,000 plan, would you be willing to, settle for just a little bit less? Maybe, 15,000, 20,000?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, because are you going to do a funeral or cremation?
Um, Probably a cremation.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what most of my clients are leaning toward. That's definitely the way to go. And we're
Hmm.
going to make sure, if you want, we can send you a free final wishes planning guide so you can kind of spell it out for your family. And we're going to make sure that, any leftover money doesn't go to some funeral home or service, memorial service. It's going to go to your family.
Okay.
Okay, and who would you want to receive that leftover money?
Um, my brother,
Okay, your brother. What's his name, by the way?
Parker.
Parker. I know Parker would be extremely grateful that you'd even think about doing this for him. Obviously, the goal is to make it as easy as we can on him, right?
Hmm.
So that right there, that whole thing that we just went through, that last, what, maybe minute or 2 minutes, is the
Hmm.
most important part of the call, in my opinion. That, like, if you don't do that on every call, I wouldn't count on making a sale ever. You have to do everything right there. You need to know what they're going to use the money for, why they think that they need to do this, what pain is, and unfortunately, here's the truth, okay? What pain is associated with this sale? There's always some sort of pain. Look, the only thing that you could be lucky enough to sell that may not be related to pain is clothing. And even that is related to pain. I have sold clothing to men and women, and there is pain involved
Hmm.
in the decision-making process and finding what fits perfectly, right? So, what's your goal? Like, if I knew knowing what I know now, like back then, with clothing, right? I sold like $120,000 of clothes in like 2 months. It's like, I didn't know anything, you know. I could just talk to people. But like, what's your goal? Like, when you get these jeans, what do you want them to do for you? You know? So like, in final expense, why now? Like, if you don't mind me asking, why now? They're like, well, I don't know, I'm not getting any younger. I figured like I'm 67. I got to do something at some point. I need them to tell me that. Was there anything that happened recently that made you decide that you needed to do it now instead of at some other time? Yeah, or no? Okay, do you know anyone close to you that's ever lost somebody that had to like figure out how they were gonna pay for this? No? Okay. Well, that means that everyone you know has had it taken care of. So now it's your turn. Well, I've already got coverage in place. Great. So when you filled this out, was your goal to save money, add to what you have? Were you looking for a loved one? Or were you looking for the right type of coverage? What do you mean the right type of coverage? Well, does your policy build cash value? We can go on so many different rabbit trails. What's cash value? Or yeah, it builds cash value. Great. Do you know how much cash value you've built up? No, I have no idea. Then how do you know it builds cash value? Well, because I know I got a whole life. Like I know, fine, I'm not going to argue with them, but you got to dig in. You got to make sure. If they're giving you challenge. Now, if they're not giving you challenge, then you just need to keep riding the wave. The hard part was getting into the conversation. Now you're on the surfboard. People don't realize how difficult surfing really is. Snowboarding really is. It's really difficult. Um, it's not, it's very exhausting. Like to paddle in the water with your arms in the ocean. And so when you pop up on the board and you've caught the wave, now it's easy. Now it's like, I mean, depending on how stylish you want to be and how big of a wave it is. But the hard part was catching that wave and then getting up on the board. There's all these challenges. So ride the wave if everything's going well. If it's not going well, you got to kind of figure out how you're going to navigate that. So, okay, that was a long answer. What's the next question? Anybody? Anybody at all?
Griffin, would you mind, it's not a question, but would you mind restating that statement that you said when you were like, you've never, I think you said they've never known anyone to have to deal with this, so now it's your turn. I just want to write that down because that was
Yeah,
really
this
good.
this is my all-time favorite thing in final expenses is this question, okay?
Hmm.
Because it's a question that they have to answer. It's not a trick. It is literally like I need to know this information, and either way, I win. Okay? But if they win, I win, and if they win, everyone wins, right? So the question is, Miss Jones, have you ever known somebody who lost somebody and they had to run around and figure out how they were going to pay for it? And if they say no, I've never known anybody like that. Wow, that's amazing. You're very lucky. Congratulations. That means that everybody you know in your life has had this taken care of. And that's why we need to have you take care of it. So that way no one else can say that about you. If that don't make an impact, I don't know what will. All right, now if they say no, if they say yes, my cousin, he was like a brother to me. When he passed away, my aunt, she had to like raise money, like they did everything they could to raise the money because they were not going to do a cremation. Okay, you need when you get that story and you go into that, that's everything. Now, okay, let's pivot for one more second over to you need to know if they're going to do a funeral or cremation. Why? Cremation's cheap, doesn't take much money. I have people that are so set on a burial. If they're set on a burial, then we need to make sure that they have enough. So if they're not going to move forward and they don't have enough to cover their burial, I will use a little bit of like, so you'd be okay with cremation, right? Oh, no, 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 I can't do a cremation. Okay. Well, then if you don't get this in place, what are they going to do? So that's where you go, right? Do you see that? Now, maybe this sounds very complicated to some people. Maybe this is too much. Maybe you're on the phone. If you're here and you're listening, I'll just take questions.
Yeah,
Anything.
Griffin, I really like that because I
Mhm.
have a part in my script where I ask them, like, have you ever had anyone that had to deal with the funeral? And I really asked that question because like to help me understand like how much to quote them, because some people will say like, yeah, I had to bury my husband and his funeral was $15,000. So then I'll be like, okay, well, I need to suggest them 15,000 because I've been in situations where I'll do 10 and then they'll tell me like, oh, that's not enough, that's not enough, I buried my husband for this. So I just started asking that in advance because I don't want my suggestions to seem weak. But now with this thing that you were saying about like, have you ever had anyone to deal with a funeral? And you saying that if they never have, like it's just pushing them into getting insurance. And it's like it's a win-win either way because they never had anyone have to deal with a funeral, paying for a funeral or anything like that. It motivates them to be that same person and, have their stuff taken care of. And then if not, if they know somebody that hasn't had their funeral taken care of and they had to do uh I don't know, a GoFundMe or anything like that, that even motivates them even more. So it's like a win-win no matter what with that question. So I really, really like that, Griffin. Thank you for that, for real.
You're very welcome. I learned that. I used to do that question, and then it was reaffirmed by probably one of the best team builders in telesales in the country. His last name is Stewart. But anyway, really good leader. Um, Absolutely. Great question. It's not harming anyone. We're not tricking them. We're helping them. It's not something we're doing to them. It's something we're doing for them. And if someone doesn't have this hard conversation with them, look, I know that this is tough to talk about, but if we don't talk about it right now, then I can't even imagine the conversations that people are going to be having when you're not here to have these conversations anymore. And I'll say that. Another thing, one more thing I'll say is, look, we don't have to be all sad and depressed about this conversation, Taylor. And here's why. The way I like to look at this, Taylor, is just like a gift because that's what it is. You're just leaving a gift to your loved ones. Okay? This gift actually can benefit you while you're alive in tough times. And then I'll talk about those benefits that accelerated death benefit, terminal illness benefit, cash value. Those are the three benefits I try to share on every call. If it's level coverage, possibly graded. If you don't know what any of that means, those are five things to study, to learn, and know. So when you're talking about life insurance, they don't just think it's something that benefits them after they're gone. And the number one thing that this does for them while they're alive, guys, can anyone tell me what the number one thing this does for them while they're alive? It's not anything that I said at all.
Peace of mind.
Correct. That's the answer. Right now, obviously they benefit financially when you're not here, unfortunately, or when something bad happens, but you know how you benefit is it feels good to know that when the good Lord calls you home, there's no financial burden that's going to fall on the people you care about the most. And that's something I also say on every call. So I have some word tracks, but it's just a conversation, to keep it simple. So I just wanted to have this type of call with you guys today because I don't think you showed up to learn how to use the tracker. That's what it says I'm supposed to talk about. Y'all need to be doing that, but we only spent 6 minutes on that. That's all we need to spend, I think. But I'll take any questions. This is fun for me, by the way. I'm gonna put this on YouTube and you can watch it, share it with people. Just tell it's free. It's free information. Um, Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations of experience. Anything else? Okay, so since no one else has any questions,
I have a
Well,
I think
RJ's,
one person has a
yeah.
question.
okay, good. All right.
yes. I have a question. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but what is the sweet spot for prices of policy? I know that we have to be relatable to get the people, going, so to speak. But I, I want to make money, but I don't want to be insensitive as well. So, what is the sweet spot for the price of a policy? I know you said 10,000, 50,000. You know, can you give me an idea?
Yeah, I always have to find out from the person, what's comfortable for them. So let's do something real. Right now you're sitting at home, you're a gentleman who's I'm gonna just take a wild guess here. You're over the age of 40.
Mhm.
Now, how many kids do you got, RJ? Zero? Five? Five. Wow. What's your youngest and what's your oldest?
My youngest is 25 and my oldest is 37.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Okay. So for you, do you have a lot of life insurance?
Not really.
You don't have to have a lot to be successful or to do well in your life. But I would agree, are you a kind of man that would be okay with a cremation or a funeral?
Well,
I know it's an
I,
interesting question.
yeah, I don't want to be like, wow. Well, once I'm gone, I'm gone.
Yeah, so cremation's cool, right?
I
I don't
guess, yeah,
mind. I don't
yeah.
mind. Some people have religious beliefs around how they want to do that and spiritual beliefs around how they want to do that. I don't mind cremation. I'm okay with it. When your body dies, you go somewhere else. Okay? The body goes back to the ground
Right.
and the spirit goes to where you believe for you that it goes, right? So if
Yes.
you were saved and you're a Christian, then you know the answer. So with that being said, give the extra money to your family. It doesn't need to be a fortune, but I mean, how much were you wanting to leave for your kids? You got five of them. Was there some sort of legacy you might want to leave them with tax-free dollars other than your home that you live in?
Um, Not really. I mean,
Okay,
but I want to leave something, you know.
sure. So maybe like 25 grand just to leave each one of them 5,000. That's just a suggestion, but do you feel like that would be decent?
Yeah, that give them something. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's really more about the principle of the matter than it is about the money. Because we're not trying to make anybody rich because we need them to earn their way.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it just kind of shows like maybe if you do this for them, they'll do this for their kids and it goes on down the
Mhm.
generations. So this
That's
is
how
just
it's supposed to work, but okay.
you would hope so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, we always got at least one or two responsible ones in the family and they're probably going to have it taken care of. So this is the type of conversation I would have with the client
Okay.
to determine their needs and wants. That way it's not like I'm just pushing what I want and not getting them what they need and what they want.
Okay.
And people do generally want more than they can afford. They want the
Yeah.
50,000, but they want to pay for the 10,000.
Right.
So I'll say, look, you and I would, RJ, look, we would leave $1 million to our kids if we could. Why not? Why not? Right? But that doesn't mean we can afford to. So we got to get something that, you can afford, but at the same time, gets the job done. That way nobody's got to come out of pocket.
Yes.
Nobody told me when my grandmother passed away that I was going to have to fly 1,200 miles, spend $800 on a plane ticket, spend $300 on a rental car, miss a week of work, which cost me, one, two, $3,000. So really, that trip cost 5 grand just to go to a funeral.
Wow.
Because I'm 1099, I'm an independent contractor as an agent. I don't get paid vacation. So when I miss a week of work, I miss a week of paycheck. And I had to get myself there 1,200 miles away because I live in Florida and they live in Oklahoma, right? So, and that was during COVID. And the flights were half full. They wouldn't fill up the whole flight, and they needed to make money. So if you wanted to fly, you had to pay for it. They didn't have like a special discount, and they couldn't even pack the plane, right? So they had to make money. But anyway, no one told me that. So luckily, when I showed up, my grandfather had some life insurance money, and he handed it to me just to reimburse my travel. And I just, it was a gift. I took it as a gift. And it
Yeah.
was like, thank you. Like I was really grateful that you could do something like that. Anyway, those are just the types of conversations. And sometimes I'll tell the client a story, you know.
Okay.
Uh, has anyone ever told you the difference between term and whole life? Most people don't know. Give them like a real quick story about the difference. Term is like a president. It's temporary. It's not going to be around that long. It's going to end at some point. It's going to change. Those are the ones they like to put on TV. You get them in the mail. They look really good. Then you find out later that they change and you're not happy about it. We don't do anything like that here at my company unless you're young and you got kids. Then we need to talk about it. You remember when you were 30 and your kids were real young and you were just trying to fight and make ends meet and feed all those kids? Well, you probably, if something would have happened to you, that'd have been a real bad deal for the family. That'd have been real bad. That your family would have needed to get a hundred, $200,000 policy. And guess what? You could have got one for real cheap when you were 20 or 30. Now that you're over 50, we got to do something a little bit different. It's called whole life. It's permanent. It doesn't change and it builds cash value. So that's kind of the conversation. You know what I mean? It's just conversation. And it's just I give them a little bit and I ask a little bit. I'm not just going to preach for 5 minutes. You notice whenever I do a training, I don't like to talk very much. I really don't like to talk. Believe it or not. I don't like. I'm glad I get to speak with you and give you some data, but I don't want to sit here and make this about me because this is about you,
Okay.
you know? So any questions you guys have, like if y'all keep asking me questions, I guess I'll have to stay on here. Don't worry about me, but I won't if y'all stop asking me questions, we're gonna end. So you guys go ahead. Jeremy, anybody?
Griffin, I have another question
Yeah.
about what you just said with the
Yeah.
term and whole life.
Hmm.
So normally when I'm explaining term and whole life and how normally terms are on the TV and they see that on the commercials, is there a way that you talk about the difference between term and whole life when it comes to the price? Because sometimes when I say like term is usually cheaper because, but you have to remember that it's cheaper because it's temporary. Is there a way that you kind of like mention the price or explain the price difference and stuff like that? Because that's how I explain it. I just want to hear your version if you have a different version.
Yeah. There's like three different ways to do it, but my favorite way is this way. Um, so, and it's kind of a conversation, right? So, Jeremy, can you come off mute?
Yeah, what's up?
All right, I need you to role play with me. So, Jeremy, has anyone ever told you the difference between term and whole life? Most people don't know.
Uh, I mean, I know one of them is good for your whole life, but I don't know the other one.
Yeah. So, term is interesting, okay? Term is the ones that you see on TV all the time. You ever kind of saw a commercial and thought, this looks too good to be true?
Oh yeah, the
That's
Colonial, the
term.
995.
Oh, yeah. You talking about Colonial Penn?
Yeah, the one you call in and then you got to do all the units and things.
Yeah. Well, oh, you know about it then. Okay.
Yeah, I called
Yeah,
in.
so I'm glad you know how that works because when you call Colonial Penn, you'll find out that, that price, how much you going to get for that price you told me.
Well, when I called in, they said I could get $800 for $10.
That's right. Yep.
What a scam.
Exactly. So we don't do anything like that here at our company, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other ones that look a little bit too good to be true is term insurance. What is term insurance? It's temporary.
Oh, okay. Temporary.
So it's good. Like Jeremy, you're 55, right? Your kids are all grown up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Did you used to work hard when you were 30, or were you on disability?
And I worked hard and then I broke my back in 3 places.
Sorry to hear that, Jeremy.
Yeah.
But when was that?
About 8 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got to work a long time though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when you was working and your kids were little, if something would have happened to you, was your wife staying at home with the kids?
Yep. Yep.
So that'd have been a real bad deal for her if we'd have lost you financially. Not only the loss of their father, but the money would have been a real problem too. We'd rather have you than the money, but they're going to be in a bad position if you don't leave them anything. So I would have wanted to get you a policy when you were a young man that would have been like $100,000 policy and you could have got it for 20 bucks a month. But
Mm.
guess what? You're not 30 anymore, Jeremy. You're
Yeah, I'm getting
57.
old.
You're 57.
Yeah, I'm getting
My
old.
dad, you're my dad's age, man. Come on. It's all good. You got a long time left to go. Okay? So
I hope so.
with that being said though, with that being said, we only do whole life when you're over 50.
Okay.
Because you want something that's going to be there when you turn 100, right?
Yeah, I don't want something that's gonna cancel and then they take all my money.
Whole life. That's whole life. You would only catch the whole life, Jeremy, is it just a little bit more than term?
Well, I'd rather pay a little bit more than to have it
Yeah.
cancel
Why
and then
why
not have
pay
anything.
exactly? Why pay all that money into something you're just gonna like lose at some point, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
try to get them to say that too. Like, I try to get them to be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd rather have the permanent whole life than the
Yeah.
term.
See how simple that guys, I could say so many things, and you're right, Jeremy. I could say so many things, but I try to keep it real simple. Guys, I used to tell them about me, but that was not a good thing to do, and I'm going to tell you why.
Mm.
I'm going to tell you why. When I was 26 years old, I got a $2 million term policy. Does anyone want to guess what I paid for that policy?
Was it
Like
like
Anybody?
50,
35.
$50?
Good question. Good guesses. Okay, so I paid, it was a 30-year term. What do you think I paid?
27.
No, I wish.
For
I paid
2 million, I would say
40.
$100 a month.
yeah, really close. I paid $117 a month
Mm.
for a $2 million term for 30 years. These people don't have any reality with that. You're talking, you might as well be from Mars. These people did not do that when they were 97% of the people you're talking to did not do that when they were my age. That's why we're talking to them. Okay.
In rare scenarios, they might have like 100,000 that they got when they were a kid from their
Yeah,
parents.
dude, my daughter, she's 9 months old. I
Mm.
can get her a $50,000 Gerber policy for $27, and when she turns 18, it doubles for the same price. 100 grand, $27 a month, whole life. That's awesome. So that's Gerber. We should get David to get Gerber. Okay.
Yes.
All right. It's a children's policy. They also have a college policy too. I think they give you 10%. So if you pay in 10 grand, they'll give 11 grand to your kid for college. So you get 10% interest. Okay. Yeah. So that's Taylor, that's my answer to you want to explain term and whole life to people because if you don't do that, you'll lose your sale to advertising and other agents. Why? Because they're going to think they can get something better. And why did my agent rip me off? And why the hell am I paying this when I could be paying that? So you've got to eliminate the false information from their mind in your presentation. Okay? People have false data.
Yeah, I always explain term and whole life on every single call. Like even if they say like, "Oh yeah, I have a good understanding of it," like I still go over it because I
Yeah,
just don't want to hear that objection at the end. But I just have a client here and there. They'll be like, they'll just hear cheaper and they'll hear like ding, ding, ding. And it's like, no, like pay attention. Like it's not, it's going to cancel one day. And then some people are like, well, I mean, I think I'm going to die soon anyway. So wouldn't a 10-year, 15-year term do me well? Because I don't think I'm going to live that long. And it's like, well, you wouldn't really qualify for a term anyway. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. You kind of have some people that's just like, just stuck on that. I don't know. But yeah, thank you
true.
for thank you for how you broke that down though.
Yeah. And most people don't qualify for term. Absolutely. Most people don't even qualify for term. If you guys really want to know the best policy that you can own in your 20s, it's not term, it's actually whole life. But you want to know what kind of whole life you should get? You should get okay, write this one down. Just, this is, I'm telling you, high, early, dividend paying, cash value life insurance. You guys want to see something that y'all never knew before? I promise you, I guarantee that I'm willing to bet that no one knows what I'm about to show you. Really fast, just for fun, okay? Just for fun. Okay, this is extra credit. Do you guys ever, anyone heard of Guardian life insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this one life insurance company in America in 2024 reported having $86 billion in assets under management. Guess what they pay to their policyholders? They paid $1.6 billion to policyholders in 2024 in dividends. What do you think that they do with the money, the dividend that they pay? They put it into your cash value. This is the life insurance that everybody wants, but nobody can get unless they get it when they're young, when they're healthy, and they've got to have the mind for it. They've got to have the mind for it. You can't talk to your clients about this type of insurance. They can't even understand a fraction of what I'm talking about right now. I'm sorry. 90 something percent of them will not understand. And they can't get it. They can't afford it. They can't get it. They're not eligible. They'd come to my house, they drew my blood, I peed in a cup, they did my height and my weight. They shipped it off to a lab. They said in 3 weeks later I was approved. You can put in five, 600, $1,000 a month. And when you're young, 92% of it goes to the cash value. You know how when you look at a policy and it doesn't even accumulate any cash value for the first year? That's because they're
Hmm.
paying for the insurance. Only 8% of what you're paying to your policy should be for the insurance when you're young. And it will stay that way when you get older. And so this is what they call infinite banking. This is what IULs are trying to copy, but don't necessarily succeed in. Because every single year, this returns 5% in cash flow. And it compounds and it grows over time. Look at their financial rating. A plus plus, superior. That's insane. Anyway, I just wanted y'all to see that. And guys, you want to know something crazy? You want to see here, one more thing. This is fun, right? Okay. Bank of America. No, 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 no. Chase Bank. Chase Bank owns how much life insurance? $12.3 billion. Why would Chase Bank own $12.3 billion of this life insurance?
It's an
They get
investment.
money.
Yeah.
They're using it as an investment vehicle.
Did you guys know that between Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, and Bank of America, they own collectively about $60 billion of that type of life insurance that I just showed you?
Wow.
Wow.
who knows more about how to make money off of people than banks? Like,
For real.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so clearly they know something that we should be doing, you
Yeah.
know? So they call it bank-owned life insurance or be your own bank or infinite banking. It comes from what I just showed you. You should have that type of life insurance. And guess what? You want to know something really cool, RJ? Let's say you wanted that insurance, but you were angry that you couldn't get it because you're like, man, I missed the boat. Well, you can get your youngest kid to get it. You can be the owner, you can be the payer, and you can make somebody the beneficiary,
Mm-hmm.
and they have zero control, but they're the insured. So when they pass away, that money pays out. But while they're alive, you can borrow that money and it'll still grow even when you borrow from it because of the dividend. The interest that you have to pay on the loan is less than the dividend that they pay every year. So even when you borrow money, you still make 1%. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason why it's not very popular is because you don't make as much money as an agent. Final expense and IUL agents actually make more money than the people that sell those types of policies. So that's why, like, as an agent, you wouldn't make as much money, but deep down inside, you would know that you did the best you could absolutely do on planet Earth for people in terms of their finances. So everyone should have a policy like that. Go ahead.
Now, quick question. For as a selling point, could you tell the people that you can borrow off of your policy just for a selling point?
Yeah, so here's how I present it because to me this is in my opinion the easiest and best way to serve the client. Miss Jones, your policy has a cash value inside, which means that you could borrow out of it if you had to. Now, I don't recommend that you do that,
Okay.
but if your roof caves in, RJ, it would be nice to know that you could take some money out of your life insurance. Okay? Because I'd rather you do that than not have that fixed. So that's how I present it. I don't recommend you borrow because that's less money your kids get, but you can if you have no other choice.
Okay.
So they like that. They actually like that. It feels good to know because when you pay on that car insurance, RJ, they're not going to give you nothing back. You know what I'm saying? So
Can you
the life
please say the
insurance will.
name of that policy again?
That's called Guardian Life Insurance Company. It's called a high early dividend paying cash value life insurance. It needs to be set up properly by someone who knows how to set it up. It's designed for someone who's perfectly healthy. They do a fully underwritten blood test. They look at all of your history, felonies, DUIs, drug, alcohol. If you don't qualify, someone that you know does. If they'll let you own it on them, then you could do it. It'd probably need to be a family member.
I have a client that has a 21-year-old daughter that we have talked about insurance for her. That's what that caught my attention because she is 21. She's very healthy, 21-year-old female.
Yeah, so I would get them an IUL. If they
But
can't
we
afford
talked
an
about that.
IUL, if they don't want to put enough money into an IUL, if they're not going to put $250 to $400 a month into an IUL, then get them a term insurance. But if they
Okay.
have the mind to save, then you want to do IUL because we can sell that here.
Right.
You think that'd be better than
I
annuity,
appreciate that.
Griffin?
Thank you.
Annuity is good to roll money into from a retirement account, like
Okay.
Roth IRA, 401k. Those are the types of things that annuities can be 1035 exchanged into. So
Yeah.
that way, when you withdraw, you don't pay taxes on that.
Okay.
The reason why people use annuities is to save money on their taxes every year.
Yeah. Could you roll like a pension, like from a union into an
Yes,
annuity?
yes,
Okay. Excellent.
100%. That's why. And we can do that at the price group. That's why I'm here. I mean, all these things that we've talked about, we can do them here. But you need to focus on being a master of selling final expense. Because once you master that and you've got a lot of savings and money in the bank,
Yeah.
then you can go and do those other things, like it can all be done under one rooftop.
Yeah. Because I have a pension. I'm thinking about rolling it into an annuity.
That's awesome. And I have a guy who he's amazing, who I could refer you to who could help you do something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just the kind of stuff that is exciting. You don't have to sell final expense forever, talk about burials and cremations forever. But if you can get really good at that, then all that other stuff can fall into place.
Yeah.
But you have to work at it, of course. But anyway, okay, everybody. Any final questions as we close out here in these final 4 minutes, Delaney?
Yeah, I remember you did a training a while back. You gave us an objection like website thing where you can click on it.
Yeah.
Do you mind sending that again,
Yeah, let's
please?
see.
That was super helpful.
Yeah, let me check this out. Rebuttals. I hope it still works. Uh, Jeremy, do you have it?
I'm looking for it.
It's not working. I wonder if he
Yeah,
shut it down. It's not working. Did he change it?
JVE rebuttals.
Uh, yeah, oh no, I think he changed it.
Rebuttals.
I can text him and
Maybe.
ask. I think it's shut down. I'm not, it's not working. Let me message Justin Valmeigen and see if he'll, I just text him and asked. So I'll find out. And, if you want to send me an email, don't be shy. Um, Here, coming to you live in the chat. Send me an email. I'll do my best to stay in touch with you. Or you can Telegram.
Hmm.
Yeah, Telegram, whatever. I'll find out. I just asked him. But it's not working, Jeremy. Whenever I go click on it,
Yeah.
it says, I don't know if that's the right one though. Hold on. I'm trying. I had to reset my cookies, man, because sometimes everybody's trying to track you, so then stuff gets my stuff gets all jumbled up and I have to reset everything. And I lose some of my. Yeah, I think it's shut down. He doesn't work as a team builder anymore, so he probably don't pay the domain hosting fee that he paid for that website.
Yeah, the JVE.com doesn't even work now.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm sorry, but
See if I can find.
all right. Well, it's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Griffin.
Appreciate
you.
you all. Have
Thanks,
fun
Thank
today.
Griffin.
you.
Go sell a lot of policies, okay?
Thank
Oh,
you.
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna give you guys something, okay? This book is so good. You guys see this book on my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This book is so good that I can turn to any page and give you some fire. You ready? All right. Breaking Out of the Middle Class, Chapter 11. I just randomly turned open to the book. Please don't take offense at what I write in this chapter. I know many of you have spent your whole life trying to get to the middle class, and I'm about to tell you it is the wrong goal. Have an open mind. I'm going to write an entire book on this topic one day, but for now, let's just think about breaking out of what I call the middle class mentality. That's all I got for you. That's chapter 11, 10X rule.
That's a Grant
Thank you.
Grant Cardone.
Cardone. Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.